Okay, well, welcome everyone. Looks like we've got quite a good audience here and a couple of familiar names from our last session in the MBA as well. Damian, I might pass over to you just to do a bit of an introduction, and then I think we should probably get started with introducing some of our postgraduate programs.
Yep. So thank you, Tom, and welcome everybody. It's rather disconcerting that I'm just looking at a screen and I can't see any of you, but that is the world of COVID-19. So none of us can escape. So it's my pleasure to talk you through some of the postgraduate opportunities that you have in the Faculty of Professions, which is, of course, the Faculty of Business, Law and Economics. And of course, MBA was one of them, which we've just gone through, but we've also got some other MBAs that might be of interest that we'll come across as well. So just for those that aren't aware, I'm the MBA director, but of course I've been at the university for about 8.5 years now, so I'm very familiar with all of these courses. So as you can see, there's a lot to choose from: international management, accounting, finance, economics, the MBA, one, business, agribusiness, business law, project management, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So obviously, you know, to go through all of those in detail would take us a lot more than half an hour. So today is just a really brief overview, but I would encourage you to come back to us, to do your homework, to work out what's really important for you. And you know, we're here to help you make that decision, because it is an investment in your time and money, obviously. But I guess you should probably be asking yourself, the first question is, you know, why would I actually do that? You know, clearly you've done possibly most likely done an undergraduate degree. Why would you do more postgraduate studies? Well, most people do it for career progression, or in fact, it's more and more we're finding out these days that they want a change in direction. You know, this is the beauty of postgraduate programs in these days, and it wasn't always the case, but it really does. You could be an engineer and decide that I would rather be an accountant, and you can come and do a Masters of Accounting and become an accountant. So it's a remarkable opportunity in this day and age. And of course, the more qualifications you have, it does tend to give you an edge in the marketplace. It can't guarantee you a job, of course. You know, employers employ people, not qualifications, but it certainly will give you an edge in the marketplace. And of course, if there's an area that you really, really are interested in, because it's always good to follow your passion, then clearly, you know, you can specialize in that, whether it's wine, business, agri, law, economics, etc. And of course, you know, the postgraduate is not just masters and ultimately, of course, PhD, but that's another story. It's really also programs that are graduate diploma and graduate certificate are considered postgraduate, and they generally are nested within the master's program, and they tend to be much shorter parts of the actual master's degree. So what's unique about us? Because obviously there's lots of universities and there's lots of postgraduate programs. Well, we do make sure that we are meeting the demands of today's business. We do research with employers to make sure that we are actually providing not only the right master's courses, but with the right content, with the right learning outcomes. We also recognise that, you know, a lot of people at the postgraduate level are working already. And so we've got to provide flexible learning options. And of course, we do encourage people to go on an exchange to make sure it not only enhances your experience, but you get exposed to different cultures, but within a learning environment. And we've got some fantastic options where you can actually do a double degree with the relationships we've got with universities, and of course, the quality of our teaching staff. I had a Zoom last night with a German student who came over here as part of her undergraduate, and she really wants to come back. She wants to come back to do some postgraduate work in wine business. And I said, so what was it that you loved about Adelaide? Well, she said, apart from all the city and you know, the fact that you're such a great wine producing state, she said, it's really the teaching. The way you teach is so different to Germany. And obviously, she said, her university, Mannheim University, is a great university, but she said the way you teach in Adelaide is so much more powerful to help you learn. And I found that a really interesting statement. So postgraduate study, yes, it's hard work, obviously, and everybody's different, so you'll have to work out your own pace. But if you're coming into a 3-hour class session, then you're probably going to have to prepare yourself for about 8 to 10 hours of work. So you will be reading a lot, particularly those that are coming in from a completely different background. You've got to be able to get up to speed a lot. The assessment is not to trick you. The assessment is here to help you learn. We're facilitators of learning. We want to make sure you're going to get the outcomes that we say you're going to get. And so we have a variety of assessment tasks, and that's really based on individual assignments, group assignments, presentations, open book exams. And we don't have open book exams to make life easy for you, not at all. If you don't know your work, you can have many books and it's not going to help you too much. But the point is, we don't want you to rote learn. The really important thing is to understand what you're learning and then to be able to apply that. So let's just go through in detail some of the, well, all of them, but don't forget, these are very, very brief descriptions of these programs. So as I said, come back to us if you need any further information. Masters of Marketing. You know, a lot of these speak for themselves, but our Masters of Marketing is 1.5 years full-time. You have to have a completed undergraduate degree. It's taught in trimesters, which is obviously 3 12-week sessions during the year, and obvious pathways for employment, marketing, advertising, sales, branding. So that they're not exclusive to those things. I mean, just having a qualification at the postgraduate level can open up all sorts of opportunities, but people tend to want to do a Master of Marketing because they want to follow those particular pathways. Master of International Management, it can be 1.5 or 2 years full-time, depending on your undergraduate study area. We do need you to have an undergraduate degree. Fantastic international experience, including European exchange, that gives you 2 masters, as I mentioned, without actually extending your study. So there's a fantastic relationship that we have with Strasbourg, a really brilliant opportunity to get a double master's degree. Once again, taught in trimesters, and career opportunities, obviously on an international perspective, working in multinationals, government departments such as DFAT, Foreign Affairs and Trade, and any business with an international market focus. So it's really important that you understand that it's really to build a profile around taking a position where you can actually engage with the world. Master of Professional Accounting, once again, 1.5 years full-time. You need an undergraduate degree, and it is accredited by Certified Practicing Accountants Australia and Chartered Accountants Australia. So we do make sure that you're going to come out with the opportunity to become CPA and CA qualified, and clearly you will get a career in accounting, financial management, auditing and business. So that really is a focus on quite a specialised area. Masters of Finance, now this is a 2 years full-time. It does require an undergraduate degree. Clearly, it's going to actually give you a high level of understanding of finance, and it will actually prepare you to take on roles as a chartered financial analyst. And so there are pathways that become clear in the finance industry that will be available to you with that qualification. Master of Economics, 2 years applied or 1.5 year advanced degree options. We do need you to have an undergraduate degree, but clearly economics is around us every day. Even if you don't necessarily understand it, there's talk about interest rates, there's talk about markets, there's talk about trade, there's talk about tariffs, there's a whole heap of things. They're talking about the stimulus now, how do we get the economy going? That's all related to economics, the decisions and choices of not only individuals, but businesses, governments, and of course, that ultimately has an impact. So really interesting area to study, and clearly it leads to a job as potentially an economist or a manager that understands the economic climate in which they're making decisions, business analysts, statisticians, so there's multiple opportunities in economics. I've just done the Adelaide MBA, which is really for the post-experience MBA. It's 1.5 years full-time. Most people are part-time because they're probably usually in their 30s. Once again, we require an undergraduate degree, and when we say 2 years work experience, it's got to be relevant work experience. So average age of the post-experience MBA is 36 years old. We're taught in trimesters in a summer school, and so that there's an opportunity to complete reasonably quickly, even if you are a part-time student. And we do encourage that international exchange. It's only 1 to 2 weeks in the Northern Hemisphere. It's a wonderful way to expanding your network, because you'll be studying with other MBA students from around the world, but great to immerse yourself in another culture. But of course, you know, an MBA is a very powerful, I guess, experience, because we call it an experience rather than a qualification, because it's a personal development process as much as dealing with all the technical things that you have to get across. And it should equip you well to undertake some very complex issues associated with management in a very interesting environment that we're in. We do expose you to complexity management and systems thinking, and so you'll be introduced to a lot of mental models that are quite different, and usually you'll see the world a little differently when you come out of the program than perhaps when you came into the program. But for those that are fairly keen on looking at, you know, getting up the ladder reasonably quickly as a pre-experienced person, you know, looking to sort of build their qualifications and perhaps getting into a sort of a management graduate program. We've got some new programs that we've introduced, recognising that this market has been left out. So it's new programs, 1.5 years emerging leaders. So that's a 12 subject MBA, and then there's 2-year specialised program options. And so there's 16 subjects. So you do the traditional 12 general management subjects. We don't require you to have any experience at all, and you can articulate straight from your undergraduate degree. Now, the specialisations give you the opportunity to specialise in marketing, wine business. Wine business, of course, huge part of the South Australian economy. Entrepreneurship, really important part of the South Australian economy, particularly post-COVID, and the commitment through our Lot 14 at the old Royal Adelaide Hospital. There's a big commitment to try and build a really good ecosystem. The University of Adelaide itself has got Think Lab, which focuses very strongly on entrepreneurship and startups. And of course, we've got a big commitment to international trade and development, as well as project management. So there's a number of specialisations that you can take on top of a general management MBA. So that's something that you might want to consider as a pre-experienced young person. Wine business, you're probably aware that South Australia produces 70% of Australia's premium wine. Adelaide is one of the wine capitals of the world, and there's only about 8 of them. We have some world-class wine making districts in Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale, Adelaide Hills, Limestone Coast, Coonawarra, very well known around the world if you're in wine. Very important capability that the university has. So it's for those interested in wine business, it's a big international market as well. It's 2 years full time, taught on campus with online options. As I mentioned right up front, most of the master's programs are nested. So you've got a grad cert, a grad dip for shorter courses. We have international study tours, as you'd expect. And careers are obvious in the wine industry, whether it's business development, cellar door, tourism, export, international marketing, etc. So wonderful opportunity for a big part of the South Australian economy. And another big part of our economy, of course, is agribusiness. South Australia is a big producer of agricultural products. 1.5 years full time. We focus in on the business and the economic sustainability side of agriculture. You've probably heard the catchphrase biosecurity, food security. Well, these are all the things that we have to be looking at. We do expect you to have post experience, so it's similar to the MBA. requiring 3+ years professional experience with an undergraduate degree or 7+ years without a degree. So if you've got some significant work experience without a degree, we're happy to get you into the program. So clearly, you know, it's entry into, you know, one of Australia's biggest industry sectors, particularly in South Australia. There's usually more jobs than there are graduates in this sector. So if job security is something really important to you, this is a huge opportunity. And GFAR, Global Food and Agricultural Resources, that's another school that we have, offers a Master of Global Food, which is a 2-year pre-experience program, and it focuses on the policy side of agribusiness and agricultural economics. So pre-experience and post-experience people are catered for. You'll just have to excuse me, I've just got to take a drink of water. For those that are interested in law, because law permeates in everything in our life, as does economics and most things, if you really think about it. You don't need to have a law degree. It's 2 years full-time. It requires a bachelor degree in any field with credit average. It includes grad certificate and grad diploma options, as we've mentioned before. And it really does give you an in-depth understanding of law to non-law graduates. So, you know, it includes options to study in particular areas. As you would know, law is a very, very large spectrum of specialisation. So it's an opportunity for you to choose an area where you'd like to focus in on. Project management. Well, you could almost say that project management is a really useful skill to have, because you know, the discipline that you need to even organise your life is in a lot of ways a project management exercise. But from a detail perspective, 1.5 years full time, you do require a bachelor degree, or you could actually undertake the grad cert if you haven't got a bachelor degree and then articulate through there. Taught on campus and online, obviously large projects in a business context, mining industry, IT, banking, finance, telecommunications, defence, disaster relief. I mean, as I said, project management can be applied in so many different areas. So very, very transferable. Innovation and entrepreneurship, as I mentioned, we actually have a centre, the Entrepreneurship, Commercialisation and Innovation Centre, which is out of the university here. Think Lab, which is our incubator, very important part of the South Australian economy, very important part of the university's vision going forward. The Dean of the Business School, Professor Noel Lindsay, is also Pro-Vice Chancellor of Entrepreneurship, so that's how serious the university takes entrepreneurship. Really important. It's a 2-year full-time degree. You do need a bachelor degree, or once again, you can enter via the grad cert. Taught on campus and online, and it really is about developing an entrepreneurial mindset. You know, how do you actually take an idea and then turn it into a new venture? You know, how do you develop entrepreneurial management practice inside an existing organisation? You know, how do we get a little bit nimble and lateral and creative in our thinking, so that we're trying to actually foster innovation? I mean, it's not always about being the next Google or the next Apple. Sometimes it's the very small little things that make a difference in organisations. And always remember this: how long has the wheel been around? Millennia. How long has suitcases been around? Probably a couple of 100 years. How long did it take for someone to work out you could put wheels on a suitcase and that would help you roll it through, whether it's the airport, the train station or the bus? That took years, and yet it's transformed an industry, and yet 2 existing pieces of equipment and all of a sudden things change dramatically. So don't ever think that innovation is all about the next big thing. It can be those small things that can have a big impact. So as I said, very quickly, I've run through the programs. There's lots of them, lots to think about. Come back to us if you need something. We've got an opportunity now for anyone to ask any questions. I think Tom's probably been taking some Q&A, but please don't be shy. But if you leave the presentation today and you have a bit of an epiphany and think I should have asked that, you know where to find us.
Thank you, Damien. Here we go. We've just got our first question here. So Michael just wanted to know, is there a minimum GPA requirement during undergrad to get into postgrad?
There was only one master's program, and that was a credit average. I'd have to go back and see which one it was, but there was a specification for credit average on one of them. Let me have a look. Which one was it?
Yeah, I believe that as a general rule, just about all of our programs across, well, a lot of our programs across the university that are masters by coursework, you generally don't need a GPA. It's really, as long as you've completed your undergrad, then that's sort of really all we're looking for. And there is work experience requirements for some of our programs, as Damian mentioned. So yeah, for like the MBA and the Master of Agribusiness, but yeah, normally we're sort of not as interested in how high marks you got in your undergrad, more that you saw it through to the end. Now, what else have we got here? So someone interested in Master of Philosophy. Now we're not really covering that in this session.
Now that might be, I might jump in there. So if it's a Master of the Philosophy, the discipline of philosophy, that's one thing, and we'll have to put you into the right faculty for that. But if it's a Master of Philosophy by research and MPhil, that is a gateway to articulating into a PhD. So if there was a particular area, whether it be law, economics, accounting, that you really were interested in going further, or perhaps just doing a master's by thesis or coursework, you may well just do a Master of Philosophy. But a lot of people will undertake a Master of Philosophy that haven't got an honours degree, or they didn't do an extension degree, and want to move to a PhD. Then if that's the Master of Philosophy you're talking about, we can certainly help you if that's what you're looking for.
Part of the question was just about finding a suitable mentor as well, but I think I might just provide a link to Roma's question, just going through to the Postgraduate Research Centre, so you can have a chat to them directly about mentors and that sort of thing. We also just had a question about the Master of Laws and specialising in a field of law or general law. I might just answer this one quickly, actually. So the Master of Laws that we spoke about in this session, it doesn't necessarily make you a qualified lawyer, but it does help you to, there are options through that program to specialise in a certain area of law, like you mentioned, if you do want to be a qualified lawyer in a specialist area, then you need to complete the undergraduate law program. And then we do have the graduate diploma in legal practice and, postgraduate law options. But yeah, our Master of Laws that we covered is you can enter from any undergraduate discipline essentially. And yeah, it's more about giving you, I'm just trying to think about how exactly to put it, but someone, for example, working in human resources, obviously law is going to be a big part of what they do, and any other number of, roles in the government. Native title is one that you mentioned here as well. I would imagine that would be something the law school teach, but what I might actually do is just provide you a link to contact the law school directly, because they'll be able to put you in touch. They do a lot of their own inquiry management, and they'll be able to give you specific answers about the sorts of specialisations you can do in postgraduate law. Now, what else do we have? So we also had a question about the Master of International Management and the double master's degree.
Yeah.
Damian, do you know much about that, or did you want me to sort of cover some of that?
Oh, you can cover some of that, but and I'll fill in the gaps if it hasn't been covered adequately. But I think the Strasbourg model is a good one, Tom.
Yeah. So Strasbourg, and there is another one. Edwin is actually, well, he was doing that, but so essentially we have partnerships with a couple of international universities in Europe, where you study your first year first sort of group of subjects, courses here in Australia, and then you go and spend a year, 12 months living and studying overseas at Strasbourg, or I've had a mental blank where the other university is, but anyway, well, it's near the border of France and Germany anyway, and you do your coursework over there, all in English, obviously, but at the end of it, you come out with your Master of International Management from Adelaide University, and you also get a master's degree from that university as well. So really good, actual initiative and a great partnership that we have as part of that program, and one that's actually underutilized. So the university is really trying to encourage people to take up that option. We want to get more students involved. So if that's something that interests you, then I'd say go for it, because you've got a good, it's a really good opportunity, and one that we want more students to take advantage of.
I think you covered it, Tom.
Okay, so some more questions here about the Master of Laws. I might just answer these ones just in text. Are there international double masters options available for other degrees? I believe it's really just the Master of International Management. Do you know about any other sort of double masters that we offer?
No, but there are opportunities to get credit if you've done a master's degree from even the University of Adelaide or from another university, and if some of those subjects link up that allow you to get credit coming into another master's degree, well, that's quite common. I mean,
just one more question quickly was just, do a majority of people who apply for postgraduate studies get accepted, or is it quite competitive with limited positions? Damian, or did you want that?
Look, I think, with the MBA program, by the time they come to me, generally speaking, they've got so much information, they know whether they qualify or not, and often they'll come and have a chat with us first to make sure that they're not wasting their time or wasting our time. And I think most people will do their homework. So really, once you have recognised what the criteria is for entry, it's pretty self-selecting. I think the only issue will be the English language, but we've also got pathways that if you don't sort of meet the hurdle rate for the English language, if it's not your first language, we can put you in a preparatory program at the university to articulate you into the program to get your English up to speed. So, I think it would be unrealistic to have a look at the the selection criteria of what it takes to get admitted and not meet those and then expect to get in. So, no, I think you'll find that most people, as long as they fit the criteria, we'll generally find a spot for them.
Okay, well, thank you, Damian. Thanks very much for your time, and thank you to all of you who attended as well. Like I said, we will just be sending out a follow-up email as well to all of you. So if you have any further questions, or if you wanted to book a time to speak to someone directly, then, like I said, there'll be contact details, or feel free to get in touch with us. Otherwise, as I said, thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you studying postgraduate at the University of Adelaide soon.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you, Candice, and thank you, everybody, for your time today. And please come back to us if you need any further information. And best of luck, and take care of yourselves.